Hello everyone, this is Nikhil and today we are going to talk about nitric acid. In this remedy, we come across sphere of action, pathogenesis, constitution, guiding symptoms, mind and also particulars. Major causations of nitric acid includes some virulent poisoning, abuse of mercury, syphilis, repeated use of distalis, anguish from a loss of dearest friend, continued loss of sleep, overexertion of body and mind. All these constitute the causations of nitric acid. The nitric acid sphere of actions, it mostly involves blood, mucous membrane, skin, bones and also gastrointestinal organs. Pathogenesis of nitric acid. The action of pathogenesis is at the junction of skin and mucous membrane. These are the places where the skin and mucous membrane are just met. Somewhere places like eyes, nose, mouth, anus, rectum, vagina. All these places are the places or junctions where the skin and mucous membrane are in close contact. So this causes severe burning, painful micturition and severe destruction of the affected parts as well. Talking about constitution of nitric acid, this is suited to the people who are very thin, emaciated, anemic and also having some broken down cachectic condition as well. This is suited to the people who are old, anemic, emaciated, debilitated and also with morning diarrhea. This condition is seen in phosphorus as well. Coming to the miasms, this covers all the three miasms, psora, psychosis and syphilis. And this is a condition that involves irritable and nervous temperament and hemorrhagic diathesis. To the mental symptoms of nitric acid. He is very depressed and anxious in the evening for sure. He is having complaints of mind with loss of sleep, everlasting anxiety. He is having anxiety for so long and it's everlasting. And also anguish from loss of his dearest ones like friends or someone who is very close to him. And also most of his mind symptoms are affected by a severe exertion of body and mind as well. The person of nitric acid is very much indifferent. He's having great weariness of life and is very sad, depressed and all this feeling of weeping and it's all induced, something like induced violent weeping is seen in nitric acid. The most interesting part is this person is having irresistible desire to swear and also curse. Nitric acid, the interesting point is he's very rude and unsympathetic. You cannot just apologize him with just your apologies because he's very rude. Physical generals of nitric acid. This person is chilly person. He's a chilly patient. He's very much offended. Like he cannot take out cold very much. Like he's easily affected by cold. Okay. So the desires of nitric acid involves something like undigestible things, chalk, and starch things and salts, lemonade, all these things. He's having aversion to bread, eggs, meat, sweets. All these are aversion for a person of nitric acid. The sleep cycles of nitric acid. He's drowsy all the time. All the time. He's drowsy 24/7. And there is an intense violent thirst mostly in the morning. He's a person with excessive hunger for sure. And also the dreams. Coming to the dreams, he's having dreams of crime, dead bodies, all these mistrustful and unfruitful events of life and all this. So these are all the physical genitals of nitric acid. And he's also left-sided person. Like most of his complaints can also be affecting the right side, like external head, eyes, nose, chest, lower extremities, all this. But mostly the complaints involve the left side of the body, like chilly person and left side of the body. These are all the major complaints involve nitric acid and also physical generals. Nitric acid includes aggravation in the evening, midnight, walking, and all these things. Contact and change in weather also involves the aggravation of nitric acid. Coming to the amelioration, there is a quite bit of amelioration of a person while riding in a carriage. Okay, so these are all the physical generals of nitric acid. Now let's talk about the guiding symptoms, the most interesting and fun part of nitric acid. Symptoms of nitric acid involves pains all over the body which feels like there is pricking sensation, and also the pains will be mostly like splinter like pains all over the body. So do comment below down what are called the splinter like pains if you know. And also there will be a sensation of tight band around his head and also bones. So this person will be having pressure and headache from pressure of hat. So if at all a person is having hat, if at all a nitric acid patient is keeping a hat on his head, he will have severe headache because of pressure over his head with that hat. So this involves the major complaints of pain and sensation of nitric acid, and his complaints of hearing were ameliorated while riding in a carriage or in a train, as we discussed earlier in the physical generals. This is a amelioration character of nitric acid, and there are like green oozinia casts from his nose every morning, and the person will have smell of urine which is so similar and close to urine's smell of horse. So the characteristic feature of guiding symptom of nitric acid which involves is mostly the smell of his urine is like horse smell urine. So this is very important point to be remembered in nitric acid. In of nitric acid involves there will be false membrane like diphtheric membrane of his throat uh, into the pharynx, larynx, and also this is extended to the nose with a pricking pain. So this person will be having very hoarseness of his voice. So the person will be very sick with his throat. His tonsils will be red and swollen with a severe pricking pain. So there will be some kind of exertion and debility in the morning hours, which causes some kind of difficulty in breathing. Throat is mostly aggravated by swallowing, and the most severe and worst cases involves ulceration of tonsils, which is with a severe characteristic pain or splinter like pains again. So these are all the characteristic features that involves nitric acid in throat affections. Strict gastrointestinal organs and those complaints, and GI tract, and also digestive complaints. The most interesting thing is nitric acid involves very weak digestion of people, but they will be having very great appetite and thirst. These people will have weak digestion and great appetite and thirst. They'll be having severe intensity of thirst and appetite. They'll eat everything they can. They feel like eating undigestible things and all this, but they have very weak digestion. If at all a person is having diarrhea, he will be having irresistible desire to pass a stool, but he cannot because he is very weak and emaciated, and this is mostly seen in old people with great weakness and emaciated thin body with morning diarrhea. So these are the complaints of gastric intestinal organs, so gastrointestinal organs, gastrointestinal tract, and GIT affections of nitric acid with severe pricking pain, splinter like pains of all the abdomen. The stool is watery, offensive, contains pieces of mucus like scraping of intestine. So there will be severe cutting and drawing pains in the rectum after defecating for hours. Okay, after defecating, the person will be having drawing and this cutting type of pains in the rectum for hours together. So this person will compel himself to walk for a while to get rid of these complaints. So these are all the complaints of GI tree. Now let's go to the hemorrhoids. Uh, there will be constant pressure over the rectum because of these hemorrhoids. Hemorrhoids, this person is having a very great tenesmus and constant urging with a severe pain of rectum, um, and there is a protrusion of hemorrhoids in his rectum. Sometimes they may bleed, which is very red and profuse, and there is always constant moisture in the rectum because of some continuous fetid and also watery discharge from the rectum. There will be weight and pressure over the rectum with every stool he passes. So there will be protrusion of hemorrhoids, as we said. Coming to the urinary complaints of nitric acid, the characteristic feature of nitric acid is the smell of urine in nitric acid is like horse urine, which is very profuse and putrid, so strong. And the person will have very burning and smarting pain while urinating, and there will be hematuria sometimes with severe pain like burning and smarting pain, hematuria, along with blood and also mucus and also purulent discharge with urine. The external urethral meatus sometimes may be cracked and fissured, so there will be very much pain during micturition all over the time in nitric acid patients. So we need to think of nitric acid if at all a person with these symptoms come over to you. Now coming to the skin affections of nitric acid, the skin of nitric acid patient is very dry, scaly, and it's yellow sometimes, maybe so deeply cracked, and also fissures all over his palms, and is mostly affected to the places where the skin and mucous membrane are joined. Like places where the skin and mucous membrane are joined, or places like as we talked earlier, like a mouth, like the corners of mouth, nose, eyes, and also rectum, anus, vagina. These are all the places where the skin and mucous membrane are joined. Like so, these parts are mostly affected, and the skin over there may be dried and causes cracks and fissures. So we need to think of nitric acid. So which is also with very purulent and fetid discharges like pustular, and also which is very blunt. So we need to think of nitric acid. The ulcers over there might be some zigzag, irregular, which is very purulent, harmful, dangerous, and painful, which is so blunt with the discharges of ichorous, um, bloody, bleeding ulcers, and also causing pus, purulent, all these discharges with ulcers. So that's all for today. So this is all nitric acid. Please do comment in the comments down below to know about more. Thank you.